All right, good afternoon. It looks a little lighter than it was last week. I think it would be a little bit heavier. But yeah, maybe it's down in the warm weather, right? Great to be here. Excited to be involved in this game. Really happy for the guys and what they did last week to lead us to this. And just enjoying the process. We're back practicing. That's a good thing. So with that, I'll open it up.
Coach, do you feel your team is in condition for the heat? And how can you tell being here in the cold?
I'm going to leave that up to the head coach. He's talked about it. Like Andy was talking about it even back a few weeks ago, just in case. And I don't really know that. It's hard to tell that. We'll find out when we get down there. We'll get down there early enough to get used to it. So hopefully that won't be a problem.
Steve, you've been from one really vaunted running game to another. But could you talk just about how different it is preparing for this style of running attack?
Yeah, the one thing is that San Francisco's got a bunch of guys they can put back there and hand the ball off to. I mean, last week we were really concentrated on one number, 22. I think Kyle does a really good job with changing. It appears to us that he'll look at the defense he's playing and attack with those particular runs. It may not be what they ran against Green Bay last week or Minnesota the week before. I think he's really good at that. So we'll have to figure that out early and try to find a way to control it.
What about defending the speed of those running backs in particular?
Yeah, a little bit.
What challenges is that?
Yeah, it's the system has always been, his dad and the Alex Gibb, the whole. When I was with Gary Kubiak in Baltimore, it was very similar. And what they're really good at is getting you to run east-west and then cutting it back. And they have speed guys that can do that. One of the things we tried to do last week was try to get there before the running back got started. These guys, that's a challenge. They're really good at it. We'll have to come up with a couple of things to slow it down. But more than anything, cutback to me is huge. We talk about tracking the hip when the run goes away from you. And that's something that we've got to put in the forefront of our thinking when they run the football.
There's a lot of talk about that running game, but at the same time, they've got George Kittle, Sanders. What kind of challenge does it present to y'all also that you have to be aware of those other weapons?
Yeah, I mean, you don't get to this point, the final game without having a lot of weapons. It's not just one thing. We can't be blind to the fact that we're going to put all our money, all our eggs in one basket and try to stop the run because what you said, what they have, skill out there. I mean, and that's what probably has led them to scoring all the points that they've had. Makes the run game better. We're going to have to pick our spots when we want to take a certain guy away. And more than anything, I think we got to play our defense the way we know how to play it and be as concerned about what we do as what they do.
Is there a guy you've played against this year that reminds you of Kittle, or is he sort of unique in that regard?
I tell you what, we were really impressed at how good a run blocker he is. I mean, we know what he can do. But, there are many games we go in and say, look, our DNs, there's no way we can lose a blocking battle with a tight end. They're just teams that, have tight ends that are more receivers. But this guy, he's as all around a tight end as I think we've seen this year. And I give him tremendous credit for the emphasis he puts on run blocking, and he looks like he enjoys doing it.
Coach, really you guys have been able to obviously overcome collectively a slow start. Not necessarily your unit, but how is the Super Bowl different? Having been there, I mean, I know the way it went with the Giants and Pats, it was always kind of toe-to-toe.
Yeah.
But is the emotion different? Is all the hoopla mean that you in this game you really can't afford to play from behind the way you guys have been fortunate enough to do the first two?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's some truth to that. Nobody wants to get behind. Certainly on defense, you'd like to be out a couple of scores of possessions because then you can call things a little bit differently. But typically in these games, as we know, I mean, we got two good football teams, right? They usually nip and tuck and tight, and we're going to have to be prepared either way. I've always said this defensively is our job never changes. It doesn't matter what the score is. And I'm probably a pain in the neck that way. We could be up by 3 touchdowns with a minute left, and I've seen crazy things happen in the game of football, so it's not over to me. And conversely, when you get behind, you got to scratch your way back. We've been able to do that. We'd like to have a fast start defensively and let our offense go to work. That would be the hope.
Coach, following up on that, Coach, obviously, you were the defensive coordinator there at Black Dolphin. Undefeated Super Bowl, undefeated New England team in 2007. Cost people some money, that's it.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
But how has your week of preparation, and do you see your front line able to attack the 49ers front line similar in the way that the Giants did with the Patriots.
Yeah, different teams, different scheme. With Tom and they had a run game and they could get the ball to Randy Moss and a bunch of other talented receivers. This one's a little bit different. There's more two-back. That brings a whole another realm into it. They got a really good fullback. I was with Kyle in Baltimore. He presents a headache because he's not just a fullback. They can put him anywhere. They can make him a wideout. They can make him a tight end. It's different that way. So we're obviously trying to defend the scheme and what they do. My mind's not back on what happened years ago. I'm just hoping that we can do the fundamentals of defensive football. If you don't do that first, it's not going to matter. And I go back with our guys all the time. We can put all the defense we want on the wall. If we're not going to tackle and get off blocks and get to the football, then none of that's going to matter anyway. So that doesn't change.
And then you also talked to them about the penalties, obviously.
Yeah, that hurt us last week. We did. I flashed that up on Tuesday. We talked about it. We can't do that. That's hard enough to, stop people when they're just grinding away than giving them free 5 or whatever it is. That's a good point. We can't do that.
San Francisco's won in a lot of different ways this year. They throw 8 passes last week, so who knows, they could throw 20 next week.
Yeah.
How hard is that to prepare? Is that more film? What do you stress to counteract? Okay, just because they did this last week doesn't mean.
Yeah, I think that their offensive staff and Kyle do a great job with that. They look at the team they're going to play. They attack what they think are the weaknesses. It's not just this is the system, this is what we're going to do. That's quite obvious. And they do have a lot of different ways of winning. I mean, it helps that they got an outstanding defense. Defensive football, and I'm sure their special teams are good. I haven't studied that. But they just look like a complete team to me. We're only concerned with one phase of it because that's our job. And we'll try to find a way to slow it down.
Coach, to follow up on that, every bye, this is a bye week, right? The Super Bowl's different, it's 2 weeks, but you get 2 weeks with bye weeks and everything. In general, you've talked about how the first quarter you kind of feel it out and see what they're going to do, but how much new stuff can a team come up with? They're going to play to their Kittle's going to be involved. So
Yeah.
They're not going to just sit him down, but how often during a bye week do you get like, wow, we had to digest a lot there on the run?
You mean after the game's over?
Right,
But
and anybody, like, since you got the extra week,
Yeah.
how much can they install new stuff?
you talk about their offense.
Yeah, their offense.
Yeah, I don't. It'll be a play or two here or there. I don't see them venturing too far from what they are. But I will say this: there's going to be something there that we haven't prepared against. And so again, it's going to go right back to our fundamentals. If you're in zone coverage, having zone eyes. If you're in man coverage, make sure you keep your eyes on your man. And that's the way. That's the best chance you have of defending something new, in my opinion, because there will be. There's going to be something new there. We might have something new.
So when you talk about
the
that,
subject, Steve, but do you have any thoughts about Eli retiring?
Just good thoughts. Listen, I think the world of Eli. I'm happy for him. Had a tremendous career. I was blessed to be with him and shared in the ultimate moment. So I wish him all the best.
Steve,
See,
in
you're
the
talking
short
about
time, in the
the-
short time that Suggs has been here, he's done it forever. Have you picked his brain or see how he can tell other guys just the nuances that he knows in the game?
Yeah, great question. Last week there was a moment like that. The linebacker coaches came over to me and said, "Wow," they said. T. Suggs was just over there talking about this particular technique that we do with our defensive ends, and he goes, he just put on a clinic. He said, everybody, all the linebackers, and nobody said anything. Just listen to him. That's what he can do. I think when you come somewhere new, you don't do that initially, so it's kind of taken a little bit, and now I think he's getting more comfortable. But he's been a tremendous addition and a real help to the players in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways.
when you talk about the fact that they will probably have a different game plan for you, so you mentioned earlier the fact that you're going to have to see what they're doing and then make your adjustments. This group of players that you have, how good are they at seeing those types of things and helping you in that process?
I tell you, they're great, but I lean tremendously on the coaches. I mean, Matt House and Brendan Daly, who are right over there on the sideline with me, and Dave's up top, and Sam and Britt. I mean, they're huge in that. Both those guys, or all those guys, have been through the fire. So I really rely on them. I can't see everything. And my mind is on the next call, the next situation, and they're able to sit back and say, look, they're doing this. We might want to think about calling a couple of these. They're great that way. I would put the credit on them first, and then the players absorbing it, embracing it, and going out and executing. And we got to be good at that, and that's what this game's all about: in-game adjustments.
Steve, Neiman's been a guy that you've increasingly trusted filling in for Hitch. What is it he's done to help you build that trust, and how do you help a young guy like that get ready for a Super Bowl?
Yeah, he's a pro. And Matt and Britt spend a lot. See, Ben's a special teams player, so he's got these special teams meetings that he has to be to. So, but he comes earlier to visit, to meet with the linebacker coaches, to be ahead of all that. He's a pro. He takes it serious. He's a cerebral guy. Iowa, right? That's how they build him up there. And he's a tough nut. I mean, I love him on game day. Nothing phases him. But he does a lot of roles for us. I mean, talk about special teams. I mean, he's a mic for us, and he backs up at other linebacker positions. And he's been great. Him and Hitch working together has been huge for our unit. Really has. Good. Thank you much. Appreciate it.